guys, and welcome back. I'm so glad to be back in the studio painting again. My surgery went well. Hands doing fine. No pain at all. My recovery did take a little longer than I had anticipated, but the doctor did finally release me. So for this project, it is inspired by my mom has a set of a China pattern that's done in a like cobalt blue and white design. So that is what inspired this rock. And so I just drew out a design. You can draw out any design you want. There's a lot of them on Pinterest or on Google. Just whatever you want. Now to do this, I use a paintbrush to paint anything that was a line. So the swirls and the line down the vines. Everything else I'm going to use a dotting tool, a dotting tool for. Now you can use a paintbrush, and that's fine if you're not, if you don't have a dotting tool, or if you're not used to using one for painting, that's fine. Just use a paintbrush. I chose to use a dotting tool because I wanted the paint to be thicker and I wanted it to have a layered feel to it. So to start off with, I mixed up some cobalt blue and some black, and you probably saw me do that. I didn't like that color, so then I added some phthalo blue to the mix, and I liked that a lot better. I liked the color. So I was just going for a navy. If you don't have these, if you have just a primary blue, that's fine. Just add a little black to it. Just anything that'll give you kind of a navy color. And I'm going to do my whole design in the navy first. So if you are going to use a dotting tool, this would be a great project to start with, to become familiar with it, because we're going to be layering on the color, so you're going to get a lot of practice with the dotting tool, and you really don't have to be too concerned about your strokes until the final light blue color, because that's the one that's really going to stand out. The other two are more like shadow colors, so they just help add the dimension. So this is a great one if you want to give the dotting tool a try. So I did everything in the paintbrush. Now I'm moving to the dotting tool. And really the dotting tool, the only two strokes is a dot and then a dot and stroke. So you're making kind of an exclamation point or a comma, depending on those are the two different strokes where you're pulling the tail. And I'm using, I think, 3 different size dotting tools. So these are my larger dotting tools. And then for the next color, I go down to my next 3. And then for the lightest color, my next 3 after that. So, or next 2. I think the mid-range color and the highlight color are both the only 2 dotting tools that I used. You just want a smaller size. And again, I'm going to do my whole design in the navy blue. And I actually did this on a piece of chipboard and not a rock this time. I'm thinking about turning these into coasters, where a resin coaster where I pour resin in, let that dry, place this chipboard painted chipboard on top of that piece and then pour another layer of resin. So this will actually be sandwiched between the two pours. If you're interested in seeing something like that, just let me know. Leave me a message in the comments or over on Facebook if you're interested in how I make any of my coasters, my resin coasters. I do have a couple of painted coaster projects coming up, but those won't be resined. I'm also going to do a couple of rocks that are acrylic pours. I played with that while I was trying to recover from my surgery because it doesn't really require any painting. But I did those on a much larger scale. Doing it on such a small scale will be kind of interesting. So I'm going to give that a try as well. So now I'm taking, this is just straight cobalt blue, and that's going to be my mid-tone, and I'm going in and I'm using a slightly smaller dotting tool and going over the whole design again. The only parts that I don't go over is the stem of the vines and the swirls. I left those dark blue, the dark navy. Everything else I'm going to stroke over with the cobalt blue, but I want it to be a little bit smaller so that you can still see the navy blue kind of outline around the cobalt blue. Guess I took a little bit of a break there. I don't know what happened to me, but I'm back. Okay, and I'm still doing the cobalt blue. I probably got a phone call or something. And I have a link to the dotting tools that I use. They're linked below in the description, along with all of my paints and my paintbrushes. So now I'm going to, this is just a baby blue, so a light blue, and I'm going a tad smaller in size for the dotting tool than I used for the cobalt blue. Because again, you want all three colors to be able to show, and you can see how when I swipe, you can still see the cobalt blue and the navy blue. So we're just kind of layering these colors on and getting progressively smaller. Now I'm using a paintbrush just to fill in this little section instead of the dotting tool. It's just easier to go ahead and paint that with a paintbrush. Now I'm going back over it with the dotting tool to add the dimension to it, just kind of adding more paint for dimension. Remember, I wanted this to have kind of, a texture to it so you could feel it. So now I'm taking a tomball eraser and I'm just erasing all my pencil marks. You want to make sure that your design is dry. You're going to see that part of my design was still wet and I didn't realize it, and I swiped through it and had a lot of cleanup to do. So make sure your design is really well dried before you start erasing your pencil marks. Now here's, so you can see where I've swiped through the leaf, and it spread it down the design. So now I just have to go in and clean all of that up with just a little bit of white, and then for the background color. And my background color was just white, just titanium white. Now, touching up the navy. And if your lighter blue colors cover up any of your navy, now would be the time to go in and you can kind of outline the design with the navy color, so that just to bring that color back. If you did put too much paint on, or your size tool you have wasn't small enough, this is a good way to just kind of cheat the effect. Then I took, this is just an acrylic paint pen, and I painted the edge all a cobalt blue. If this had been a rock, I would have painted my sides and the bottom the cobalt blue. And here is the final rock. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll give this rock a try. If you do, please post your work over on my private Facebook group, Rockin' It with April May. The link is down in the description below. I would love to see your work. Thank you so much for hanging out with me through the video. I hope the rest of your day is wonderful, and I will see you next time.